And we're back, guys. Thanks for clicking on the video. Do me a favor, like the video, show some love, hit the super thanks. And we are 3 hours away. Two of America's top rising stars. We all know Coco by far, in terms of the tennis landscape, the most recognized player right now in tennis, women's tennis. And Emma Navarro is making a household name for herself. She is amazing. Coco's amazing. The rematch of SW19. This will be the third time these two ladies have played. They've played twice this year, once in Auckland. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at SW19, and we're going to give you an official prediction here in New York City today. Guys, this is going to be a very important matchup. The winner will make it to the Elite Eight, the final eight in New York. They will have a chance to make it, yes, into the second week of New York City. We all know the tournament started last Monday. If you can get to tomorrow, you'll have a solid chance to possibly win it all. Listen, guys, this is the biggest matchup today, without a doubt. Emma Navarro, the 13th seed, taking on Coco, the number 3 seed. Let's start with Emma. Emma's here after taking out Anna Blinkova in straight sets. Arantxa Rus, she destroyed, completely demolished her. Did you see that video? Go watch the video I did on that matchup. Arantxa Rus, the look in her eyes, whoa, she was livid. The look on Arantxa's face, she was upset. She couldn't find a rhythm. Emma Navarro took her to school. And last time, Marta was up a break in the third set and could not hold on. That could have set up the showdown with Coco and Marta. Now, I do feel Coco would have had a harder time against Marta, but I do think she beats Marta. Overall, she's a better shot maker than Marta. Emma Navarro's playing solid tennis. Coco's here after taking out Varvara Gracheva. Dished out a bagel. Dished out a bagel. She took out Tatiana Maria, dished out a bagel. And Svitolina, she had to come back down a set. She left the court, showed amazing mental toughness and focus, and came back and completely demolished Svitolina in the second and third set. Now, let's start things off, guys. We're going to start things off with the first time these two ladies played. They played in Auckland. Coco was the reigning and defending champion. She came into this season jacked up, looking very strong and muscular, and she really just put the brakes on anything Emma Navarro tried to do. 10 aces in that match. She got 65% of her first serves in play, and she came into the season, she didn't have that double fault issue. Why? Because I feel she was stronger, a lot more strength, upper body, all in the upper body. Easier to get that ball over the net, easier lift on the serve. As she started to come down in muscle, I said this previously, anyone that has ever bulked up, I've done it in the past. I've bulked up, I got shredded and ripped, but I've always felt uncomfortable with the added weight. So after a while, you kind of find your equilibrium. You kind of slim down and you kind of go back to what's natural for you, feeling well. And I felt we saw that towards the end of the Australian Open, where she started to, and I'd probably say a couple tournaments after, she just slimmed back down. And that's where she is now. I think she's comfortable with just the size she is. She's a small woman. Coco's not like one of these jacked up big ladies on tour. She's still, with the exception of the start of this season, she still has that teenager type of body. So I do think she's still growing into her body, and I think this off season we'll kind of see her balance out to where she's possibly going to be at least the next couple of years. Once you get in your mid 20s, that's going to change as well. But nonetheless, her legs getting a lot stronger. And she was big. Just she didn't have the double fault issues. Still serving big. 10 aces in that match. Only one double fault. Now historically, she's averaged anywhere from three to four faults a game, double faults a game. This year we saw that number nearly double, for a stretch of the season where she just couldn't get the ball in play. And despite that, she's still having a solid year, still the most consistent player on tour, the last year in terms of going deep into Grand Slam. So she plays well when the lights are on. Now, defending her championship in Auckland, that match against Emma, 10 aces, she won 93% of her first serves, ladies and gentlemen. 94 for 5 on breakpoint opportunities. She literally kept the pressure on Emma Navarro. She won the first set 6-3. The second set was a breadstick 6-1. Emma had 2 double faults, 1 ace. She got 70% of her first serves in play, but lost 51% of her first serves. She lost 43% of her second serves. She had 2 opportunities to break. Coco cannot convert on any of them. Emma said it best. I was not prepared for Coco. And what that means, my translation of that is Coco was too good. It's as simple as that. Coco was too good. Anything she tried to do in terms of game plan, Coco adjusted. Is Emma a much better player then versus now? I think her game is the same, guys. To be honest with you. Now, let's take a look at the matchup at SW19. Well, what happened there? Right? So they were playing under closed roof. And yes, the elements, the humidity, closed roof versus open, the ball's gonna carry different, it's gonna travel different. But watching that match, this is my interpretation of that match and what happened. So Emma Navarro, the first set, in case you don't remember, very close, 6-4. Emma Navarro, she got 59% of her first serves in play. She won only 59% of those and only 58% of her second serve. She didn't play like a lights out type of set, you know what I mean? Coco, on the other hand, 2 double faults, 57% of her first serves in. She outstruck Emma on the first serve, 10 for 16. That's not bad. She won 63% of her first serves, only had 12 second opportunities, 6 for 12 on those. In terms of the winners, Emma 8 winners to 4. Coco 10 unforced errors to 7. The net points, I felt Emma played very well, 7 for 7. And the distance covered, Emma was able to cover a lot of ground. Now, she covered more distance in meters, so Coco using her amazing footwork and defensive skills. She did have Emma moving around a lot, but I felt with that game plan, I felt they were trying to do too much, Coco's team, in that game plan, right? So not only did her serve, she didn't have her best service game overall because she only had 3 aces and 3 double faults. Overall, she won more of her first serves than Emma. She won 70% to 66%. The second serve numbers were about the same, but Coco did have more winners, 12 to 10. She committed a lot of unforced errors, and I felt in that matchup Coco was trying to be too aggressive, right? I felt, and I said this when I did the video, all Coco had to do was defend. Emma Navarro did not do anything special. She wasn't trying to attack the forehand. She was just getting balls back. She was playing safe tennis, and I felt the game plan in Emma's camp was let's just get balls back and see what happens. She didn't do anything special. I felt Coco played way too big on the racket and she made mistakes on her own racket. And after that last slip up in that first set service game, she lost a set. When you're down as a player, your mentality is completely different. And this is why you see a lot of players lose matches where, let's say, I don't know, it could even be a 3 set match, or it could even be let's in particular, let's take a look at a first set match. So for example, you have a player that most people would regard as better than the other player. They're playing a consistent game, their opponent's playing a consistent game, but you have one service game where let's say you make a double fault and you just shank one. Now you're down love 30 or 15-30, or it's 30-30 and you shank one and it's 30-40. Playing that break point, players get stressed. They get nervous. You have millions of people watching worldwide. They know that's in the back of their mind. You have tens of thousands of people watching you live. You're down 30-40. You've played an amazing setup to this point. Right? And we saw this with this Svitolina match between Coco. You've played an amazing setup to this point, and now you're facing a breakpoint opportunity and you just get nervous, you fault. Now they're looking at a second serve. They just step in and just send a rocket by you. Or they get the ball in play and you're playing too cautious. this happens a lot in tennis where sometimes the better player just has a accident, a sloppy service game. They lose the set. Now they're playing from behind and they're playing safe tennis and they end up losing the match. So a lot of times in tennis, the better player will win. But if you take a look at a lot of matches, sometimes you could see, and someone asked me this question, they said, how come matches, you know, how come a first set could be like 6-2, a player loses it, and then they come back the next set, and then they win it 6-2? With tennis, a lot of times the score isn't an indication of how close the match is, right? Because you could have someone that was broken a couple of times. They could have been up 40-15, shanked one, get a double fault. Next thing you know, their opponent stepping in, being aggressive, they win the service game. So a lot of times you really have to watch the match to see what happens. In the Auckland match I watched, Coco just dominated Emma hardcourt. That Wimbledon match, I felt Coco's game plan. They over game plan for that matchup. They did not have to do all that. Just play tennis. Use your defensive skills as the rallies sort themselves out. She's going to have the upper hand due to her athletic ability, due to her top-notch backhand. And people's criticized Coco's forehand for so long. Why is she so good? She's so good because she's a great defender. And she's so good because she has one of the best backhands on tour. Her backhand is top notch. Now, talking about defense, guys, I want to take a look at that. Now, on the year, Coco and let's start with Emma. No, on the year, Emma, I'm sorry. On the year, Emma, she wins about 45% of her return points, right? Coco's winning about 49% of her return points. So about nearly a 10% lift, just under for Coco on the return points. First return points won, 38% for Emma Navarro. First return points won for Coco, 42%. Second return points won for Emma Navarro. That number is at about 55%. Coco's at about 58%. So Coco's going to do a much better job returning. She's done it consistently this year. In terms of pressure point situations, Emma converts break points at about 47%, which is amazing. Coco is over 52%. There's not many players on tour that convert about 52% of their break point opportunities. In terms of first serves, this is where Emma plays a little bit cleaner tennis. She gets about 65% of her first serves in play. Coco's getting about 57% of her first serves in play. Emma wins 65% of her first serves. Coco wins 71% of her first serves. But last year, during that amazing run where she captured DC, she played well in Canada. She played amazing in Cincinnati, amazing in New York. Coco was in the 80 percentile range, double-digit win streak. She was just annihilating opponents. Emma's a little more consistent on the second serve. She wins about 49% of her second serves. Coco, who's been faulting a lot and double faulting a lot this year, players are stepping in on the second serve. Coco's winning 48% of her second serves. That's a low number. I'm sorry, what did I say? 48, 44% of her second serves. That's a low number. But Coco's defense, again, steps up in the pressure point situations when opponents have the opportunity to break Coco. They're not doing it. She's saving 60% of all break points that her opponents have, while Emma Navarro saving 55%. The key here, Coco's got over 100 more aces than Emma on the year, but Emma's more consistent on the double faults. Coco has 277 double faults. That is a ton, ladies and gentlemen. Emma Navarro has a fraction of that. Emma Navarro has 126 double faults. She's very consistent. She's just not making a lot of double faults. Now, this matchup here today, Coco's the favorite, but a lot of people are pouring a ton of money on Emma Navarro. Yes, the public is backing Emma Navarro to defeat Coco Gauff. I talked about the two matchups. Coco on her game on hard, she beats Emma very easily. And I talked about this before. We're going to revisit this again. Why? Grass, between these rallies, the grass really depends on where the ball bounces. It really is simple as that. With hard, you really have to beat someone on hard, especially a good defender. I think the extended bounce, the extended hang time on a hard court, not as fast of a surface as SW19, but it's a more consistent surface with a hard court player's game. And both of these ladies are hard court players. I think Coco's defense is going to be very tough for Emma to get balls past her defense on hard. I think that's the big difference in this matchup. How's Emma Navarro going to win points against Coco? She's going to probably have to do what a lot of players have done in the past, attack the forehand, but it just hasn't been working. You saw last match against Fidelina, Coco Gauff go head to head with one of the best defensive players in the game. Despite losing the first set, Coco won nearly 90% of her first serves. She had one slip up in a service game that cost her the first set, or she wouldn't have won that match in straight sets. You saw Svitolina just gas out and get tired from that grueling pace that Coco forced upon her. The forehand, that was a duel. I said it was a sword fight. That was a fencing fight. Forehand for forehand. Svitolina's got a much better forehand than Emma Navarro. So what does Emma do? I think Emma's best shot is her backhand, by the way. But she has been showing a good solid forehand, so I will say that. But I think her best shots are backhand. She can't go backhand toe-to-toe with Coco on hard. She can't out-defend Coco. Her footwork's not as good as Coco. My picker is for Coco Gauff to win this match, ladies and gentlemen. I think she's going to be too good defensively. I just don't see how Emma Navarro is going to consistently get balls past the brick wall of Coco that we call defense, the best defender in the game. I don't see how. She's going to have to serve. Emma's going to have to serve at least 8 aces to take a lot of pressure off a lot of these service games. But the key for Coco, she's going to have to serve well also. She's going to have to take a lot of pressure off these rallies in case we go 3 sets. This might be a long match here, but I like Coco to win it. That's a pick. I think Emma Navarro is amazing, by the way. I think she's going to, again, represent the United States in LA. I think she's one of the top prospects in America, without a doubt. Look at her ranking. She's amazing. She's a technical player. I think she's Jessica Pegula 2.0. But Coco's going to win this match and move on one step closer to defending her championship in New York City. She will make it to the second week in New York. The public is backing Emma. There's a lot of money on Emma, guys. But we're rolling with Coco. Tennis in a minute. Like the video. See you guys soon. We'll be back.